I've been waiting for this ship to bear fruit for damn near 3 years. Even worse than that, I was just begging for Saburo Uta to move along the HaruMatsu pairing just a little. No teasing, no throwaway moments, actual signs of concrete, irrefutable progression of the romance between Harumi Taniguchi and Matsuri Mizusawa. Sorry y'all, I'm a little emotional, man. It feels like a dream, but anyways, let's actually get into this chapter. The quick and terrible summary of this chapter is Harumi, Yuzu, and Mei hung out, talked about Matsuri's absence from school, and they decided to help her. Oh, and Mitsuko was in here too. So the first point I want to cover is something that may seem trivial on its initial showing, and that is Harumi's outfit. With the first page in color, we see Harumi looking not like a snack, but a whole buffet. If I were to do a ranking on the Citrus girls based on looks, Harumi would take the top spot without question. And Citrus is host to a lot of beautiful girls, so being number 1 is a grand achievement. But back to business, Harumi dons a sleeveless shirt, transformed into a crop top, shorts that leave her thighs bare, also known as booty shorts, and of course, her gold accessories. However, after hearing from Yuzu that Mei would tag along in their plans for lunch, Harumi decides on a costume swap, which is kinda significant, and I'll explain why. You do have to bear with me because it'll take a while for everything to connect. Harumi and Mei don't interact with each other much, and when they do, it's usually awkward because Harumi doesn't know how to act around Mei. This is partially because of Mei being student council president and Harumi being sort of a troublemaker. And then too, seeing how Harumi reacts to her big sister, she may act weird around Mei because she reminds her of her sister Mitsuko. Harumi's lack of familiarity with Mei is also indicated by her calling Mei by her title Prez rather than addressing her by name. Basically, Harumi feels uneasy around Mei, thus feeling the need to straighten up in her presence, which, as I already mentioned, ties back to Harumi's substitution and wardrobe. Opting to wear something much more modest after finding out that Mei would be joining her and Yuzu for lunch. Now, as strange as this may sound, Harumi's change in her outfit is a microcosm of one of her biggest flaws, which is her hesitance. Stay with me and think, y'all. Why did Harumi change into less revealing clothes just because Mei entered the party? Sure, Harumi isn't too comfortable with Mei, so maybe that's the reason, but I think the cause reinforces Harumi's flaw, which again is hesitance. While Harumi for the most part is a fun-loving character and generally positive, she is a bit insecure. This is shown in a couple of instances, but the most memorable to me is in Volume 3's special chapter. In this special, we see Harumi and Matsuri get into a fight, and although Matsuri has a knack for getting people out of character, just look when she got made to kiss her, it's odd to see Harumi stoop to her level. So, what was it that made the usually calm and collected Harumi fight Matsuri? Well, the catalyst was Matsuri taunting Harumi about her outfit. Yeah, for real, that was it. Matsuri did also say that Harumi looked like a trashy old lady, but for someone as composed as Harumi typically is, it's uncharacteristic of her to fight because of something so minor. Or should I say seemingly minor. The reason why Harumi took such offense to Matsuri's words is because she struck a nerve and honed in on one of Harumi's insecurities, which is her gyaru persona. And if you don't know what a gyaru is for whatever reason, it basically means girly girls. People described as gyarus usually have painted fingernails, dyed bright hair, clothes that deviate from formal wear, shit like that. Anyways, as much as Harumi and Yuzu are partners in crime when it comes to the whole gyaru getup, the difference between those two is that Yuzu is 100% a gyaru and Harumi is not. If you remember back in chapter 1, Harumi even introduced herself as a closet gyaru, meaning that unlike Yuzu, Harumi would not play the gyaru role out in the open at school. Now, Harumi is an undercover gyaru in part because of the school's strict dress code, but it also has to do with that nagging flaw, hesitance. Yuzu is transparent about who she is and has complete confidence. In contrast, Harumi is reserved in some regards, trying not to dive too far into anything she does, like being a proud gyaru in this example. This goes back to Harumin ditching her first outfit before going on a lunch date with Yuzu and Mei. If Harumin had no uncertainty about her style of dressing, she wouldn't have switched up simply because of Mei, but again, she has persisting doubt in her mind about going into things 100%. Currently, the example is clothing, but that sentiment applies to things like relationships as well, but I'll refrain from talking about that until the end of the video. While I'm on the topic of clothing, we see Mei in this chapter wearing Yuzu's clothes, and she rocked that shit. Just like Harumin though, I think there is significance in Mei wearing what she wore, albeit it's not that deep. Mei is definitely not a gyaru, so her wearing Yuzu's clothes has nothing to do with her fashion sense, but it has everything to do with Yuzu. The ups and downs of Yuzu and Mei's relationship is well documented, so with that in mind, I think it's beautiful to see the growth of this couple when comparing them at the start of Citrus to where they are now. In the early stages of Mei x Yuzu, I don't think Yuzu would ever be able to convince Mei to wear what she was wearing in this chapter, but they have progressed. Especially Mei, who is a lot more open-minded now, so even though she appeared to be a bit embarrassed from suiting up in a Gyaru gear, her willingness to do so anyway speaks volumes about herself and how much she loves Yuzu. And from seeing how great these three girls looked in this chapter, add Mitsuko in as well, I can safely say there are no ugly girls of Citrus. Saburo Uta just can't draw one. As for the lunch conversation, which was the bulk of this chapter, what was important was the news on Matsuri. The absence of Matsuri has garnered the attention of the student council and her friends, who haven't heard from her in a while until yesterday, where she made some bullshit excuse to explain her being MIA. As Yuzu and Harumin continue to talk, Yuzu remarks that Matsuri has taken a liking to Harumin. Harumin questions this and says that Matsuri just gets under her skin, but Yuzu replies that from afar, those two look like they have fun when they go at each other, to which even Harumin agrees. That exchange was one of my favorite parts of the chapter because it gave life to the HaruMatsu ship. Harumin straight up admitted that she finds Matsuri interesting, even saying that she kinda enjoys bickering with her. Usually, Harumin refers to Matsuri as a brat and treats her like a nuisance at times, but deep down, you get the feeling that she likes her more than what she shows, kinda like a tsundere. Remember, Harumin was the first person to notice that Matsuri had been absent for a while, so she cares about her whether she admits it or not. As the conversation persists, Yuzu comes to the conclusion that she needs to apologize to Matsuri for what transpired with Sayaka, but after she leaves, Mei gives her input. After Mei talks to Harumin one-on-one, they deduce that Yuzu's involvement wouldn't be what's best for Matsuri, so Mei suggests that Harumin takes on the task. With Matsuri likely blaming herself for Yuzu being hurt, Yuzu's plan might be counterproductive, so since Harumin seems to understand Matsuri, she is the one who needs to save her. At first, Harumin is, let's say it for a fourth time, hesitant to help Matsuri, but after a while, she decided to put herself into the fire, which is a sign of her growth. This is the point I was trying to make with Harumin changing her clothes and shunning her Gyaru image. She is a person that does not take risks and takes a neutral stance. Matsuri herself has alluded to Harumin's shield. Harumin may give you advice, she may serve as a guide, but she rarely if ever gets herself involved in any sort of drama that goes down in Citrus. If you look at what happened with Sayaka before Yuzu got that ass beat, she gave Yuzu her opinion, but it was Matsuri who put herself in harm's way and supported Yuzu on the front lines. In chapter 10 of Citrus Plus, Harumin and Matsuri's way of approaching things is described as fighting styles. Matsuri says Harumin heals people from a distance, while Harumin believes that Matsuri meddles in affairs. Now let's look at Harumin in his current predicament. At first, Harumin was going to let Yuzu follow through on her idea, knowing that it wasn't a good one, simply because she didn't want to get involved. However, this time she is willing to go all the way to help Matsuri. Ironically, Harumin is doing what she has criticized Matsuri for, getting herself in a mix of things that don't necessarily demand her presence. However, this is a good thing. It shows that Harumin recognizes her problem and is ready to personally help Matsuri, standing front and center. It's a testament to Harumi's progression as a character, and is more proof that Matsuri's method of meddling is pretty effective, even if it might annoy others. That, folks, just about covers everything in chapter 13 of Citrus Plus. Well, I guess I could talk about Mitsuko a little since she showed her face, but she didn't add much to the overall plot. It was funny seeing Mitsuko try to make the transition from scary, overbearing big sis to loving and doting big sis. Hopefully, Mitsuko gets on better terms with Harumi because I respect the effort she's putting in to get closer to her. But guys, that brings this review to a close. Hopefully I can make more reviews on Citrus Plus in the future. But if you enjoyed this video, like, comment, subscribe. I'm Satsuki the Savage, and I am out.
Your soul, you're not in control, just giving you goals. Scared of your past, the future is closed. The start is the end is a start. They both are the same, can't tell them apart. Nigga, that's cuz the intro is the outro.